Nurses, today's video is for you. This is the second video of my 5 tax tips in under 5 minutes for particular occupations. I've previously covered teachers and today's topic will be nurses. If you've got an occupation you want me to cover, make sure you leave a comment down below, and as always, hit like and hit subscribe on that video so it helps get my message out to more people. Now don't forget, this is going to be general advice. Make sure you do your own research, speak to an accountant, look up on the ATO, get some great information from there, because not all of these deductions will apply to all people. So number one is probably the most common expense that nurses are going to have, and that's your nurse's registration. So make sure you're claiming this. You want to make sure you're claiming all deductions that you're allowed to claim that you're actually paying for. So nurse's registration is typically forgotten because you're only paying it potentially once a year, and therefore people forget they've paid for it. So make sure you're including that. I know every time that I'll speak to a nurse, I'll say, okay, how much was your registration? What did it cost you? Make sure we get that deduction in, and make sure you're checking what it actually cost you year to year, because these things typically rise. So don't miss out on a legitimate deduction and say claim $150 because that's what you thought it was when it might have raised to $170. You always want to make sure you're checking what you paid in the last year so you're not missing out on that deduction. So the second one is union fees. And again, a bit like the registration thing I just spoke about, make sure you're checking what you're actually paying in your union fees. This is sometimes easily forgotten because it might be a direct debit. So people forget, one, that they're even paying for it, therefore they forget that they can claim it. And then you want to check, how much are you actually paying? Has that gone up? Don't just put the same amount as what you paid last year or tell your account, oh yeah, it was the same. Check it. You know, it should be a simple thing. If it's a monthly direct debit for 12 months, check what the month was and then check, has that changed during that year? You don't want to miss out and go, oh yeah, it was $50 a month, but then in January it jumped to $70 a month. You want to make sure you're getting the actual cost you paid during that year. Quite often with union fees, you've got an email to you at the end of the year that says, okay, this is how much you've paid during the year for union fees. So look out for that letter, contact your union if you haven't got that, and make sure, again, you're not missing out on a legitimate deduction. The third tip is study. So quite often, nurses are potentially doing extra study or extra small courses. So again, this will be claimable if it's related to your current job, and you know, whether it's increasing your ability to earn more money in that current job or whether it's just maintaining your skill set. So it could be a small one-day course that you've paid for out of your own pocket, or it could be a longer, it might be a uni course or a TAFE course that you're doing that's related to that. So again, all these things count. It doesn't matter if it's a small and it's only going to cost you, $400 or $500, or whether you've spent thousands of dollars on the course. You want to make sure you're claiming it if you're entitled to claim it. The biggest thing with this is you need to make sure you've actually paid for it. You can't claim it if your work's paid for it or if they've reimbursed you. So that's just something to keep in mind. The fourth one is work-related travel, or coming back to that study-related travel. So if you're having to use your own car for work-related or study-related travel, make sure you're keeping track of this. So it's not work to home. You can't claim travel for you driving to your workplace, but you can claim travel once you're at that workplace if you're required to go other places. So for example, for a nurse, you might be based at one hospital and in that shift they go, okay, we need you to go to this other hospital, they're short, or we need you to take some supplies there. So that will be claimable. Or if you're a nurse that works at a hospital and you've got to go do home visits and use your own car, again, those things are going to be claimable. Now the good thing with car expenses is we've got a couple different methods. So we've got the logbook method, which is more strenuous. We've got to keep all the receipts, we've got to keep track of things, and we've got to do an actual logbook. Or we've got the kilometre method. So therefore, we just need to come up with how we've calculated how many work-related kilometres we've done, and then we claim it by a rate. So definitely make sure you're keeping track of these kind of things and thinking about it. And when it comes to doing your tax, make sure you're claiming the method that works best for you. And the fifth tip today is safety equipment. So nurses are typically going to be buying bits and pieces that are classed as safety equipment that are specific to the nursing occupation that are claimable. So hopefully your workplace is supplying most of these things, but if you've had to buy out of your own pocket gloves, safety glasses, or whether it's lab coats, or it might be sanitizers, or it could be non-slip nursing shoes, all these kind of things that are classed as safety equipment are going to be claimable. So these are typical things that people forget because they might be small and they might, might be $10 here or there, but it might still add up to a couple $100 over the year. So keep the receipts for them, keep track of them, whether it's on a spreadsheet or whether it's just putting the receipts in a pile and putting them in an envelope and putting them somewhere safe. Keep track of these things so we can claim them. So a quick summary of those 5 things. We had nurses registration, union fees, study costs, work-related car expenses, and then safety equipment. So if you had any of those things and you're a nurse, make sure you're keeping track of them and claiming them in your tax return this year. I hope that video has been useful. As I said, leave a comment down below if you want me to cover another occupation. I thank you for being here and I'll talk to you again soon.